Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about what I believe is a very important topic when it comes to Tesla stock, and especially with the week ahead and S&P 500 inclusion. And I wanted to bring this topic up because I have noticed it in the past on my channel. I've seen this occur firsthand, and it has a lot to do with the expectations of Tesla stock. So as always, of course, if you enjoyed the Tesla videos, please make sure to smash that like button. But getting right into this topic for today, this has a lot to do with what I commonly see some Tesla investors expecting out of the stock. And keep in mind, I know that some of you all that are watching this video, this may not apply to you. I know that there's a lot of long-term investors out there, and their plan is very similar to mine, which is to just buy the stock and hold for the long term. And when I say long term, I'm not talking about a year, I'm not talking about 3 years, I'm talking about 10 plus years. That's really what I consider long term when it comes to investing. And I have really seen a lot of opportunity with Tesla stock because I think that long term roadmap is so clear in terms of the transparency on what they're planning to accomplish. But keep in mind, anything that I say in this video is not to be considered financial advice. I'm simply just sharing my thoughts and opinions about the stock and what I've seen through experience and some valuable insight, in my opinion, that I feel like I should mention. But like I said, for the long-term investors out there that have their investing mindset already solidified and they have their own investing strategies, I know that this may not apply to some of you all, but I have seen in the past, especially with the stock split and the battery day event, where there's been a sell-off with Tesla stock previously. And by the way, I'm connecting this to S&P 500 inclusion, and I really want to emphasize that I'm a huge Tesla bull. As you can see, 100% of my portfolio is in Tesla stock. This is just a free stock right here, so I don't count that. And 100% of my Roth IRA is in Tesla stock. Pretty much 100% of my net worth is in Tesla stock. So in terms of being a Tesla bull, I would say I'm one of the more bullish ones out there. But I'm mentioning that because I really want to emphasize that I'm a big Tesla bull, and I don't want what I say in this video to seem like I'm being bearish or spreading fear and uncertainty or doubt around Tesla. That's really not the case. But I just kind of want to address some of the expectations that I commonly see in the stock market among some of the newer investors and those that are trying to get a little bit more experience in the stock market. And I want to address this. So like I said, in the past where we've had Battery Day and S&P 500 inclusion, especially if we take a look at this run up right here with the stock split, and on August 31st it hit its peak and we had a huge drop afterwards. That was at minus 22%. And one thing that I noticed when that happened was all of a sudden, the sentiment completely changed. I was almost mind blown at how the Tesla stock sentiment completely did a 180. All I saw was fear, uncertainty, doubt, people saying that they just bought the stock and that they're going to sell it and that they don't believe in the company anymore, calling Elon Musk all of these different types of names, and it was just a complete 180 from what I was used to seeing in terms of sentiment towards Tesla, and at least leading up until that drop right there. And that wasn't the only occurrence in which I've seen that before. There's been plenty of dips, even back when Tesla was like $900, $840 per share pre-split. There were plenty of people talking about how they weren't going to wait any longer for the stock to go up and saying how the stock would remain in like one price range for the longest time ever. And that was another occurrence that I saw like right in this time frame as well. A lot of people gave up on this stock just when it took a breather right in this time frame. So I want to emphasize this before going into this week ahead with S&P 500 inclusion, and I really want to emphasize also that I have no idea what could happen with the stock. I'm actually pretty bullish on this week ahead, but I think there is a possibility of a potential sell-off after S&P 500 inclusion, because keep in mind, everybody knows that S&P 500 has to make this purchase, so there are going to be some short-term traders making some purchases with Tesla stock with the pure intention to sell it later for a profit in the short term and just get some quick money. Now, I'm not saying that's all of the retail investors, because there's actually a lot of smart retail investors that plan to hold this stock for the long term. At least smart in my opinion, because that kind of goes along with my investing mindset. But I think long term is really the play to make on Tesla stock. Keep in mind, like I said, nothing I say in this video is to be considered financial advice. But over this past year, I really want to emphasize that I have seen the sentiment change with Tesla stock when there is that event in which a sell-off occurs. Like I said, I'm not saying that it's going to occur for sure. I have no idea. Nobody really knows. That's why everyone is speculating. But I'm saying in that scenario, if that does occur, for those that believe in the stock long term, it's important to try not to let the downturn or the drop or the dip, or if it's a huge sell-off, it's important to not let that affect your emotions and cause you to make irrational decisions in the stock market. Now, like I said, it's all up to your choices when it comes to your investing strategy. Yours might be a lot different from mine, which is why I'm talking about my strategy here. But basically, I'm a long-term investor. None of the movements that it makes in the meantime between now and at least like 10 plus years it's not going to affect anything that I do in the market in terms of me selling shares. I don't plan on selling shares anytime soon. I emphasized this in yesterday's video. It's not something that I'm going to be considering at all, regardless of how much the stock dips in the meantime, unless something completely fundamentally changes about Tesla stock where I think the company is just going in a much different direction than what it was seeming like earlier, then maybe I would consider readjusting the portfolio. However, I don't even see any signs of that occurring right now. If anything, it looks more positive than ever in the future. But what I really want to emphasize is that I do see a lot of people kind of just simply buying into the hype on Tesla stock, and rather than actually doing the research themselves or actually believing in the company and having a long-term vision, they're more of just buying into Tesla stock because they see that it's popular and they think that it's going to just absolutely go to the moon. And I think that Tesla will go to the moon in the long term, but the short term is where it becomes a lot less predictable, and that's why I think it pays to be a long-term investor. But that's the thing that I want to address. There's a lot of people that buy into Tesla stock when it comes to these short-term movements, and they have really high expectations, and they don't even consider any possible scenario or outcome in a situation where Tesla does have a sell-off, or it does have a pretty reasonable dip. And when that occurs, at least from what I've seen in the past, we commonly see people make irrational decisions, whether that's simply selling all their shares at a loss or selling their shares even if it's at a profit. Of course, you can never shame someone for getting gains, but like I said, with my perspective on this, I think a lot more money can be gained by looking at the long-term vision and focusing on that. But a lot of mistakes can be made when people get emotional about the downward movements of Tesla stock. In my opinion, it's okay to be excited about the stock moving upwards and surging like it has recently, but you also have to be prepared in the scenario where the stock goes down in value and address how you would react to that scenario. And what I've learned over time with the stock market, even going into the stock market, I knew that there was always going to be some up and down movements. And even on the down days, I simply view them as opportunities. Whether I have cash on the sidelines or not, there's an opportunity to purchase that stock at a share price that was cheaper than the previous day. And as you can see in the crash here, a lot of people took advantage of this uncertainty and fear and doubt that was floating around during the stock market crash. And some people bought a lot of Tesla stock and they took advantage of that opportunity. I actually didn't buy much Tesla stock during this period because my portfolio was much different. I bought a lot of Microsoft stock and I still made some pretty solid profits on that, which I then sold to buy Tesla stock later on, and I've made a lot of gains from that. But my point is, I even took advantage of this stock market crash back when a lot of people were really scared. I was just buying it as it was continuing to go down, and then I was also buying it on the way up as well. So I really want to emphasize that with this event, you have to be prepared for the worst, but it's okay to be excited when the good things happen as well. And if the drop days do happen, or if we have a sell-off, then you're prepared for that, and you don't become too emotional about the market, you don't become irrational, and you don't panic sell or make a decision that you would normally not make if you weren't being over emotional about some sort of movement in the stock market, whether that has to do with Tesla stock or any stock in general. This really applies across the board here. It's not just specific to Tesla stock, but this only applies in a scenario where you've made the right decision and purchased a stock that will grow in the long term, and that's what my conviction is all about when it comes to Tesla stock. There's always a possibility of someone having a really good investing mindset, people who don't get emotional about the movements in the stock market, but if they don't make the right purchase on a company that does grow in the long term, then all of that valuable investing strategy sort of goes to waste, because if you don't purchase a solid long-term growth stock in the first place, then that just means you're going to be applying your actual good investing strategies to a stock that isn't going to follow along with that strategy in sort of like a symbiosis. So I just wanted to address this going into this week ahead. I'm actually pretty bullish on the week with the potential of retail investors buying, and then a lot of fund managers buying on Friday possibly, and then we have S&P 500 inclusion in itself on Monday, and then afterwards is really what I'm kind of addressing with this video. If there is a significant sell-off, like I said, I have no idea where it could go, but if there is a sell-off and if it becomes a significant one, it's important to not be over emotional when it comes to the movements in the stock market if you believe in the company long term. And that's another issue that I see as well, where a lot of people buy this stock, but they don't actually have that long-term perspective like they say they do. It's easy to say you have that long-term perspective until you actually get into those rough days where you're losing thousands and thousands of dollars. And there's been days where I've lost over $28,000 before, but as you can see, I've held through, and I've been really highly rewarded for doing that and using my strategies to my advantage. I just wanted to kind of mention this, even though I know a lot of you all already know this. If you're a Tesla investor and you've been holding up until now, you've probably already learned these things through experience, but I do know that I've been getting some new viewers lately, and if there are people that are new to Tesla stock, I think that needs to be understood because it can be a very volatile stock. As you can see, it kind of had this crash after August 31st with that stock split, and since this point around August 21st, it pretty much went nowhere. It went up and down, but in general, it's kind of just a straight across line until around this point on like November 6th or November 9th, and then after that, we had the surge once S&P 500 inclusion was announced. So keep in mind, this stock can go nowhere for a while, and that's always a possibility. If we take a look at the stock itself, it pretty much went nowhere for the past 4 out of 5 years. So that's really important to take into consideration as well. There has to be a lot of patience and discipline when it comes to holding this stock, and that's just something that I've really learned. But for those out there that do have that, it can be very, very rewarding. And as you can see, over the past year, I've managed to grow my portfolio by almost $141,000. And I'm emphasizing that because it shows the rewards of having discipline and not being over emotional about the downward moves in the stock market. So as always, of course, if you found this video helpful, or if you just enjoy the Tesla videos in general, please make sure to smash that like button. And also feel free to check out my referral links to Robinhood and Webull in the description below. With Robinhood, you can get a free stock, and especially with Webull right now, this could possibly be expiring soon. I wouldn't be surprised because you can get 4 free stocks in total, 2 valued up to $250 just for signing up with my referral link, and then another 2 valued up to $1,600 for depositing $100 into your Webull account. So a lot of opportunity for some nice passive income with minimal effort, and it also helps support the channel, which I really appreciate. But I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your weekend.